Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome everyone to the Toronto Spirit Society. It's great to have full house here. And today, for those who actually never been to a Spiritist Center before, it's not the case of all those present, obviously. You're going to learn a little bit more about what do we do in the Spiritist Center, what's the importance of it. So we have today a lecture from Teresa about the Spiritist Center, the Schools of Souls. So the title of the lecture already gives us a hint about the role of the Spiritist Center and what we do here. And before we get into the lecture, I would like to invite our friend Rafael to come and give us the initial reading and the initial prayer, and then we'll go through the lecture. And after the lecture today, we do have something very special. Today is our lunch and learn. So those who can, please stay with us. Not only have a delicious meal, but also help to support the TSS, because that's one of the roles of the lunch and learn, and also an opportunity for us to get together, know more about each other, and talk a little bit. Okay? Sorry for those on the internet, we can't ship the lunch to you. We don't have that technology just yet. Maybe in the future. Rafael?
Morning, everybody. So as usual, I'm going to read a passage from the book Happy Life from Divaldo Franco and the Spiritual Angels. Be a friend to whoever is looking for your support and presence. Individuals need friends to live as much as they do bread. There are those who walk among the crowds, suffering loneliness and needing company and friendship. Never let anyone leave your presence without taking away something good from the moments spent with you. You have much to offer. May discovering these values be your first step. Put your gifts at the service of your nearest neighbor. Nobody is so bereft of spiritual assets that he cannot spare a little something for others. So I invite you all for our initial prayer. Dear Lord, dear Master Jesus, we open our minds and our hearts at this moment to express our gratitude for this house of love, for this house of life that fulfill our spirits with blessings and give us strength to keep moving forward in our everlasting path for evolution, happiness and peace. And we ask you to shine your light on our sister Teresa, on her speech today, so that we can remember old teachings and learn new ones. Be with us today. Thank you, and so be it.
All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's always good to be here. It's working, yes. So the theme is about the Spiritist Center. So what is the Spiritist Center? What its functions? And as Marco had said, the title kind of gives away the answer. So if someone asks me to resume in one phrase, what is a Spiritist Center? That's exactly what I would say. It's a school of souls. So I could easily finish the lecture right here, right now, jump to the food, but unfortunately they asked me to ask for about 45 minutes. So let's talk about a little bit more. Why is the Spiritist House a school of souls above all the other functions that it has? And even though the Spiritist House is a school of souls, unfortunately, until this day, even as a Spiritist, when we think about the Spiritist House, that's not what we think about. Most of us are still thinking about a Spiritist House as this place. So a place where I'm gonna find a magic pill, then I'm gonna take it and it's gonna solve all my problems. That's what it is. Oh, I'm gonna go to the Spirit Center and I'm gonna take that pass or that fluidified water, magnetized water, and you know what? And I'm gonna feel fantastic and it's gonna solve all my problems. That's everything I need to do. Or I'm gonna go there and then I'll pray and then the spiritual plan is gonna solve all my problems. And I don't need to do anything. I just need, you know, go there. And that's magic pill right there. Because that's what we're all looking for. Even in our daily lives, if I have that pain, that I know it's the absence of exercise that I don't do, I still wanted to have that one pill that I'm gonna take and it's gonna take the pill away and I don't need to do exercise, right? That's how we want to. Because we want always to solve our problems in the fastest, easy way and preferable in a way that I don't do anything, someone else gives me the solution and solves the problem for me. And unfortunately, that's how we see the Spiritist house many times, as this magic pill that's gonna solve my problems. And the magic place, there's someone called a medium that's gonna give me a psychographic message or a psychophonic message or anything that's gonna give me the answer of my problem, right? So, because that's also how we see the Spiritist house, because it's highly connected with the mediumship. That's how we see mediumship. Mediumship in the Spiritist house is seen as a something that's going to be used to solve my problems, to give me answers, to cure me for something. And it is. Sometimes it can be done. But that's not what it's there for. But that's how most of us still see the Spiritist house. That's why I know few people, actually, unfortunately not just a few, they just go to the Spiritist house. They just remember they're a Spiritist. And there's the Spiritist house when there's problems. When there's problems, oh yeah, oh, you know what? All of a sudden I can find the time to go to the Spiritist house. Once my problem is solved, work starts to get too busy, life gets too busy, and then all of a sudden I have no time to go to the Spiritist house. And then it happens in not only the Spiritist house, it happens in any religions. I have a friend who's from a different religion. She only goes to church when things go really bad. That's when she reminds to go to church and connect to God, right? And this is not 100% bad, because I think sometimes that's why the pain comes, just to remind us, hey, go back there in the right track. The problem is that once the pain is gone away, we get off the right track again. And then the pain has to come back again, so it brings us back to the right track. The problem is that we keep it on the zigzag, right? Zigzag. Yeah, I'm gonna go. Oh, no, I don't need anymore. So it's a place that I go there to serve my needs. When I don't have the needs anymore, I don't need this anymore, right? So that's what we do at the Spiritist house. The problem is, that's not what the Spiritist house is. It is not a place that's going to solve your problems. It's not a place that offers magic pills. The mediums are not here also to give you messages and solve your problems and give you the resolution of everything. But definitely it's a place that can help us to solve our problems. Help us. Not to solve the problems for ourselves. Right? Because if we don't put our effort, there's not much that they can do for us. Right? They'll help us if we're doing something to help ourselves. But they're not here to do the job. A very small example is in the book Missionary of Lights by Andrea Luiz. There's a very famous passage that everybody remembers, everybody who read the book remembers, because it's very eye-opening, right? It's the guy who goes to the Spiritist house, and then he has a gastric problem because he does alcohol abuse. So every time the problem comes, he stops drinking, goes to the Spiritist house, so he gets a pass. And every time it happens, and I remember that the Andrea Luiz book, so we've seen the story through the spiritual side, right? So we have seen what's happening on the spiritual side of the story. So the spirits go there and do a cure pass on this guy, so the problem goes away. Well, problem goes away, I have no pain anymore, I go back to my old habits. Pain comes back, I go to the Spiritist house, gets another pass. Pain goes away, but I don't change my habits, so it comes back. So by the 9th pass in the story, one of the helpers in the past comes to the benefactor and say, hey, the guy is back, we already gave him 9 passes, he keeps going to his old habits, so makes no change at all on his lifestyle, or there's no inner transformation. What are we gonna do? We're gonna do another cure pass on this guy? And he says, no, we're not doing anymore. Now we're just gonna do a relief pass. But now it's time for this person to learn with their own mistakes. So now he's going to have to be responsible for his own actions, right? So we cannot keep helping this person. And André Luiz at the time feels very confused, but isn't there like an absence of charity, like we're stopping helping? And the Spirit makes very clear, said, we're not here to solve his problem. We're here to help him. That's what we did. We helped him for quite a while, but there's no change on this person. There's no inner transformation. There's no desire to make his own effort to cure himself. So we cannot keep curing, because now we wouldn't be helping this person. We'd be enabling, actually, his bad habits, because that's what we'd be doing. So now that's the moment for this person to be responsible for their own health. So the Spiritist house and the spiritual plan is not here to give us a magic pill. It's not to give us solutions through mediumship. It's here to help us from the moment that we're willing to do our own change, to make our own transformation. It's slowly, baby steps. But any baby steps that we do, they will enhance and they will help us, because that's what the Spiritist house is here for. So if anybody came looking for the magic pill or for the magic medium, unfortunately, you're not going to find it. That's the bad news. But that's the only bad news for the day. The rest is all good news. Because now we're going to talk about what it's really a Spiritist house and what it's here for. And a Spiritist house has mainly 5 functions, or 5 aspects to it. So it can be a temple, is a temple. It is a home. It is a hospital. It is a workplace, Marcio. Okay, it's a place to work. And it's a school. So, and then it's not a coincidence that I put the school in the middle of this. Because of all these functions, the school is the most important one. Because if you don't use really well this function, the school, we're not going to understand the other functions, and we're not going to use them properly. We're not even understand that the Spiritist house has all those aspects in it. So the school is the most important, because the school is the one that ties all of them together. But let's talk about a little bit of each one of them. So let's start with the temple. So why is the Spiritist Center a temple? It is so temple is connected to that place where we go to pray, to connect to God. And that's what we do here. A Spiritist Center is a place that we all come together to pray, right? To make that connection to God. And that's why praying is so important, because it is what makes us closer to God. It is what makes us to connect to Him. It makes us to remember that He is here, that we have to be grateful to Him, that we have to connect to Him, right? Because most of the time through our day, we don't even remember to make this connection. But that moment that you stop to say, no, I'm going to do my prayer, either at nighttime, before I go to sleep, or when I wake up, that's the moment you remember that He's there. And that's the moment that we remember to do this connection. So it is very important for us to do the prayer. And we know that we all come here together and praying together, it is enhanced, because it's all our energy, good energy is here put together in this prayer. So it's not a coincidence that before the lecture we start with the initial prayer, we do a prayer at the end to be grateful for everything that we received. And actually every single activity that TSS does, we start with the initial prayer, we end with a final prayer. So initial prayer to make that connection, a final prayer to say thank you for the connection, right? And we'll do, like, even if you're having a course here on a weekend, we start with the initial prayer, we end the final prayer. Because it is very important. Do I need to pray through the day the whole time? No. But we should remember to at least, maybe in the morning, in the evening at least, to start our day and to end our day, to have this connection and have this prayer. We connect to our gospel at home. We connect with our good deeds through the day, because there's so many forms of praying that goes beyond just the moment where I stop myself and I talk to God. Every time we do something good to someone through our day, that's a moment of prayer right there, right? But it's important for it. So it's important for us to see that our TSS and any Spiritist Center as a temple. It is a place to connect with God. It is a place to pray. And how we do that in Spiritist Centers? We do that in a very simple way, with simplicity, without rituals, without ceremonies. It's just doing natural, right? Raphael just did an initial prayer for us. He didn't train at home, didn't memorize or anything. He just stood here and spoke from his heart what he felt to see in that moment, right? We know we're receiving also the intuition from the spiritual plan, and that's what it's about. Is anything wrong with the rituals? Absolutely not. What's important is the intention that we have in our hearts when we're doing. So if someone does with the rituals, I have to put my hand here, there, my foot forward. There's nothing wrong as far as the intention is in there. But for us in the Spiritist Center, we know that's not necessary. It's not wrong, it's just not necessary. We just don't need the rituals or anything. A prayer is just a talk with God. It comes from the heart. It's doing a natural and a simple way. Okay. So let's talk about the Spiritist Center now as a home. Because sometimes I think it's hard to see this as a home. But it is. Because that's the place where the people who attend the place just to come to watch the lectures, or the people who are working here, all come together to strengthen the ties of love. Because that's what we're doing here right now, right? That's what it is. We all here are part of a spiritual family. And in Spiritism, we know that there's no coincidence. So there's absolutely no coincidence that we're all here together, being part of this house now, this home. Because in some way, we are part of a spiritual family here. And if you think ourselves as immortal spirits, we are all a spiritual family anyways, because that's how we are. There's only one Father, which is God, and we all brothers and sisters, right? No difference. So even though we have our little families in here as incarnated spirits, in the end, we are part of a big spiritual family. But in the same way that we have our small families, father, mother, kids, grandfathers, uncles, and cousins and everything, we do have this family here as well, which is a little bit broad, and then eventually have the big one, which is the spiritual one. But if you have seen any of the lectures before about family ties, and why we incarnate in the same family, and why sometimes, you know, I have such a hard time to have a relationship with my brother or my sister or my dad or my mom, but, you know, I'm so well with my best friend, but man, my brother doesn't go at all, right? So if you watch any of those lectures talking about family ties, we know that in the family sometimes we reincarnate in families with people that we have some animosity from the past that we need to fix it, right? So people that could be our adversaries from past lives that is brought in the same family to solve it, right? It's like sometimes parents do with their kids, like they're fighting, and then they put them together, time out, and say, and you guys not out of time out until you don't shake hands, right? Until you guys don't shake hands and hug each other and say love each other, you're not coming out of a timeout. So that's what God does with us, right? Because that's what we are. We're just spoiled children. He puts us together, incarnation after incarnation, saying, until you guys don't shake hands and hug and say I love you, you're gonna keep coming back. That's basically what he does with us. That's what he does. It's simple. When you guys stop fighting, I'll take you out of timeout. That's what he does with us. Easy to see, but we don't see it like that, right? But that's what he does with us. Just like parents do with small kids. You put together, when you're good to each other, you're out of a timeout, right? So the spiritual family here in the Spiritist Center, in the TSS or any other, is not different. So sometimes you could have inside the spiritual, in the Spiritist Center, people who are adversaries in past lives. We have animosities to solve against each other. So as a part of this family, it is our work, it is our job to try to avoid those things, to work on that, because that's part of building our inner transformation. To accept each other's difference, to accept each other's personality, to instead of maybe seeing the bad in the person that we all have in, because we very easily see on people, don't see in ourselves, but see what's the good. everybody has something good, a characteristic that's good. You know what? Someone may be terrible in doing X, Z work, but it's very good on doing something else. It's doing A. So let's take this person and put it to do A. Everybody has some good or something that they're good at that we can be used. That's what Jesus did with us. Because imagine if when he came, he was looking for someone perfect to do his work, he wouldn't have not even the 12 apostles around him. Nobody. He would work alone. And he did. He didn't. What he did, he saw the best that each one, he saw all the defects that they had. They said all the vice, he saw everything. But he also saw the good on each one. And said, you know what? I can use you on this part, I can use on this, and that's how we do it. And that's how we should do in the Spiritist house. So everybody in here can contribute to this big family. So we can, hopefully, be on a home that has harmony, that there is peace, and that can grow together. So it is a home here. And as much as some of us don't even know each other here, we are part of a spiritual family here. This is a spiritual family that for us is called TSS. Right? And so each Spiritist Center, it is a home. It is part. And it's going to be here that we're going to learn to strengthen these spiritual ties that we have, these family spiritual ties that we have, that then we can expand outside. So the same way that I cannot go out there, save the world, and inside of my house, I cannot even help the person who's beside me, because it's inside the home, our homes, that we're going to learn to spread love, to have patience, tolerance, and then we spread outside. So the Spiritist house is the same thing. Let's use this place as a place where we're going to learn to be tolerant to each other. We're going to learn to have patience to each other. That we're going to learn to respect each other, so we can expand what's in here to outside, right? Because we start first in our families, and then we spend outside. So deck is the Spirit's book that talks about the law of works. So the Spirit's book talk about the law of work. So it is a divine law. Work, it is a divine law. So if it is a divine law, as a Spiritist Center, we have to be part of it. So this has to be a workplace, right? Because it is through work that we're going to develop our potentials, and it's through work that we're going to accomplish deeds. And those are the ones that are going to count as a merit to our accountability once we discarnate. Our spiritual accountability that we all have there. Don't have to, trying to square. Most of the times I was in the red, but we're trying slowly to save, get out of the red. But it is through work. It's through our accomplishments. It's all the good work that we do that we're going to get the merit. But what kind of a work we're talking about inside the Spiritist? Can I get a job in here? Yes, you can. It's a volunteer, I'm telling you already. But it is tons of work to be done inside of a Spiritist house. And we all should contribute, because the Spiritist house should be a place where we receive, but should be a place where we give as well. So there's an exchange. Right? But it's important that we do this work with goodwill. I'm doing because I wanted to serve. I'm doing because I want to help. And not because now I know that this accountability that I wanted to square, so I just want to get points. So I'm going to do the good because, it's going to look good for me when I discarnate, and they're going to see, oh, I'm so nice. Look at all this good work that I did. Then it doesn't really count, because now I'm not really doing it to help the others. I'm not doing it with the intention of serving. I'm actually doing for myself because I want to look good here, and I want to look good when I'm on the other side. Well, the problem is it's all about intention. And the Spiritist house, talking about our TSS, there's so much work here to be done, from helping the cleaning of the house, helping the reception, help with facilitating all the studies that we have, helping to, organizing boards, just taking the garbage out, lectures, fraternal meetings. All of this only happens in a Spiritist house because of the volunteers. The passes are here because there's people who not only volunteer to do the job, but volunteer to come here on the extra time to take the courses, to be able to be part of all those activities. So no activity in any Spiritist house would happen if there's no volunteers. people who understand that, you know what, I received so much from this house, I want to give it back. How can I help? Oh, I can help doing the cleaning, right? Oh, I can help helping with the lunch and learn. Like someone today, like spent the whole day yesterday. Michelle spent the whole day yesterday cooking and preparing this, so we can all be here together after lunch. For the ones who stay, we can be here as a family, talk, have a moment that we sharing, and at the same time helping to pay the bills for TSS, because that's a reality. Helping with the membership with the house, because we do need to pay rent and everything. That's helping the house. That's giving back. So there's tons of opportunities inside a Spiritist house to give back, to work, to do something good, right? And can be minimum things. I remember studying for the pastors group, and they say that even if you see a child that's crying and you go there, help the mother or help the kid to calm this kid down, that's helping, that's working, right? In one of Andre Luis' books, he calls so he's on the streets. It's very end of the book, and he's on the streets, and he looks at the guy who cleans the streets, right? The streets, yes. And he calls them the median of cleanliness. Call them medians, because it's through him that the streets get clean. So when you come here to TSS and you're helping to clean this place, you're being the median of cleanliness, because it's thanks to those people that when we come here, we have a clean place to sit. We have a clean place to be. I think nobody would like to come here and see garbage on the floor, dirt, right? Do you like to go to your home and feel like that? No, right? So the same way that it's nice to come home and find a clean place, an organized place, the chairs are all in place, right? It's nice to come here to our home, TSS, and find this place organized, right? Clean. Have someone at the door waiting for us, and have a smile and say, "Hey, good morning," right? Especially if a new one never came, how it works, I'm gonna be accepted, right? Having someone receiving you at the door, that's the main thing. I know people who stopped going to Spiritist Center because the person who was at the door was so moody and it's like, oh, I'm never coming back in here again. And on the other hand, we have people here to come to TSS because whoever received them at the door received them so well, they said, wow, that's why I'm staying. I really, I feel comfortable in this place. So you see, as any little work that we do inside the Spiritist house is extremely important. Extremely important. There's no such a thing as small job. Oh, because I'm cleaning, my job's way smaller than someone who does a lecture. No, they're all important. Because I don't think I would be, any of us would be here doing a lecture if this place was dirty and disorganized, because would probably not have anybody here to see a lecture. So there's no small work. So we all can contribute inside of a Spiritist house. There's so much work to be done. Right? That's why you're constantly asking for volunteers, you're constantly asking for members, because work, there's always work. And that's true, because in the Spiritist house, I realized that when there's workers, the work shows up. There's always something, and when there is work, the workers always show up. So there is always work for all of us to do. So it's very important for us to see it, because that's how we keep the temple, the home, the hospital, and the school. It's through all the work that people put in here. So we all help each other. We all here to learn from each other. And then we can say Spiritist house is a hospital. Okay? So considering that we are on a planet of expiation, we can all consider ourselves sick of the soul. It's minimum. We all are. Because we all have vices. We all have moral imperfections to work. Minimum, right? Not talking about the physical that we can have, but just minimum. We all sick of the soul. So we all need the aspect of the hospital, right? Because we all need something to cure inside of us, right? On top of that, we can have our physical illnesses as well. And we do need to be healthy physically and morally, to feel ourselves as a healthy people. And the need for moral growth that we have right now as a spirits on a planet of expiation is huge. It's huge. The amount of moral growth that you need to do, right? The amount of a cure that we need on that side of ourselves. And that's why God gives us the opportunity of going through some illnesses, mental and physical, because that's going to be through that variety of illnesses that we're going to go through the process of cleaning our perispirits, right? That's what it is. And I love this word, opportunity, to go through illnesses, a variety of illnesses that will help to clean our perispirits and consequently our spirits as well. Opportunity. Of all the Christian religions that I know, I think Spiritism is the only one that says they see problems as opportunities and not as punishment. And let's talk about specifically about illnesses now, especially physical illnesses. We are the only ones that do not see as a punishment, as a Christian religion, right? And that's a huge difference. It's a huge difference that Spiritism brings to us, is opportunities of growth. Because we start to see that illnesses or whatever problem we're going through as a temporary. It's not forever, right? We start to see them as an opportunity of learning resilience, learning resignation, and not the resignation in terms of, oh, I have it, so I don't need to do anything because God wants me to do. That's not the kind of resilience that we're talking about, or resignation we're talking about. It's the resilience with faith, where, you know what, I am going to do the best to get better, and I know that whatever it's better for me, it's going to happen, right? But gives us to learn resignation, patience, tolerance. Sometimes it's what makes us to connect it to ourselves and really know ourselves a little bit better. It's the pain. We tend to learn more through pain than through the moments of happiness, right? So that's how we see illness for us. And that's important also for us to see what is to be sick, what is cure most of all. Because if you don't understand what's the concept of cure in the long run, not just an incarnated life, but in the long run, that it's very hard for us to see the true cure in there, right? Even the World Health Organization has changed the concept of what's being cured, what's being healthy. Because a long time ago, the concept of being healthy was the absence of illness. So if you don't have any illness, you're healthy, right? If you had a cancer and you got cured, now you're healthy. That's it. So you don't have an illness, you're healthy. And even them changed their concept. So their concept is health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not just the absence of illness. That's the concept of being healthy for the World Health Organization. So it's just not a matter that they don't have any illnesses. It's I'm physically healthy, I'm mentally healthy, I'm socially healthy. Because we need to see this as a whole thing. I could go through a cancer, go through the treatment, get better, now I'm cancer free, but maybe this process caused such a big trauma on me that mentally I'm not healthy anymore, right? I could go through some experience, let's talk about cancer again, but at the end of this, change nothing on me. And these days, there's a lot of research that show that a lot of illnesses, and cancer is one of them, is related to certain type of emotions. So they start to prove that people who carry, for example, the sentiment of hatred, anger, for too long, we're talking about like years and years, are more prone to develop certain types of cancer. So if I got my cancer, I got it treated, and I'm cancer-free, but I'm still hating and carrying the hate inside of me. There was a cure here. There was a partial. Yeah, the body was cured. But me as a spirit, there was a cure? No. Because I'm carrying the same hatred, right? So there was no change. So what's really cured? Because if you really think it's fantastic, and we should, very clear, we should all looking for cure for our bodies. But we should also, most of all, look for cure for our spirits. Because eventually this body is going to stay behind. And I am who I am, which is me as a spirit, is going to carry on. And whatever it's in there, it is going to go with me. And that's what we're here for, incarnated. To bring a little bit of cure to our spirits through the experiences that we have in this body. Because in the end, we're spiritual beings who sometimes has incarnated experience. They help us to grow as a spirit. So the true cure is one of the inner transformation. It's that little bit of inner transformation that we can do in ourselves through our incarnations. Because that's the one that once we leave this body, we can see, oh, I'm 0.0001% better than I used to be. Fantastic, right? Or now I understand myself a little bit better. Now I understand what I need to change, right? And sometimes you only can see those through those hard times that we go, that shaking us up and say what I'm doing, right? To me, it's kind of easy to see this on people, this transformation through illnesses, because I work in a hospital. So I see the transformation on my patients who go through surgeries that pretty much saved their lives, because otherwise they would be discarnated. And the concept of life, it changes completely. They start to value more family, more friends. They start to see how much they neglected the things that really matter in life. And maybe if they never had done that, if they never had gone through that surgery, if they never gone through the illnesses that they had that led them to have a surgery, they would never make that transformation. Right? So, how a Spiritist house becomes a hospital? It becomes a hospital because it helps us to cure, sometimes physically, we know, through passes, to the magnetized water and everything, but most of all, because it helps us with the inner transformation. Because we know that most of the illness that we have, if not 100% of them, they come from the things that we did, from who we are. Because even that genetic problem that I had, it probably came from something that my pure spirit imprinted on my body that I cared from before, right? So we know case through André Luiz, the people who committed suicide in the last incarnation because they drank poison and they damaged all their esophagus and all their gastric organs systems. So they come now on this and they have problems. They have swallowing problems. They have constant sore throats and everything. Why? Because what they did in the past imprinted, damaged their pure spirit, which now is going to imprint on this new body. So by having all this knowledge that Spiritism brings to us, the knowledge of reincarnation, the knowledge why we have sometimes to go through those illnesses, mental and physical, that the actual lessons, that the opportunity of growth right there, it already helps us to deal with. It helps us to find the resilience. It helps us to find that resistance to keep going no matter how hard it is, right? And if you can find a little more strength, even be grateful for it. It's another level. Sometimes it's hard to be grateful for some stuff that we have to go through. Very, very hard. Especially because some illnesses are so hard to deal with that it's hard for us to be grateful. But eventually, we will be grateful for all those hard moments, right? But how we help to get all this resilience and everything? So we help through our for this knowledge, through the meetings, right? Fraternal meetings, passes, lectures, all this information that we bring. That's how we help. But one thing that's very important, very, very important that I wanna bring here is that even though here we have the possibility of cure, and we have seen Spiritist centers in Brazil that have millions of cure, and we have been people being physically cured from some illnesses, even though we have the passes, even though we have here the spiritual plan helping us, the Spiritist Center will never replace our medicine, okay, our conventional medicine. So please don't stop taking your medication that your doctor prescribed because you're going to a Spiritist Center, okay? We have to remember that all the knowledge that medicine is out there, like in hospitals, clinics, through the doctors, nurses, and every single health professional out there, is a knowledge that came from God, right? So it is a valid knowledge. They're also there to help. They're also workers of Jesus because they're there to help people to get better. So what happens in the Spiritist Center will never replace, I don't know, likely on this never, because I think eventually they're going to become only one thing, but it's not a replacement, okay? So it's very important to still going to our doctors. It's very important that we follow their diets that they ask us to follow and we don't. That we taking the medication that they prescribe, that we do the surgery, right? Even Chico Xavier did surgeries, right? And people even ask him, so, well, but you know, a spiritist, like, why don't you? And he goes, no, I trust the doctor. That's why I trust it. You know, his knowledge comes from God, so I trust the doctors. So always very careful with that, right? Because otherwise we are at the risk of fanaticism. Again, the miracle pill that's going to solve my problem, so I don't need to do any treatment. I don't need to do my surgery. There's no miracle pills in here, right? So it is a hospital. It is going to help us with our pain. It is going to help us to go through what we need to do, but it does not substitute our regular medicine, our conventional medicine out of there. So very important about that. Okay. And then it comes school. And like I said, I didn't put in the middle as a coincidence because it is this aspect that's going to connect all of those. It is the most important aspect of a Spiritist house, is the school. Because it's through this aspect that we're going to learn to use the Spiritist house as a hospital, as a temple, as a home, and as a workplace. So in life, we're continuous learning, right? We're learning morally because we're trying to better ourselves morally, and we continuous learning intellectually, right? So we all have professions, we learn through our professions and go to school, university, do masters, then do a PhD, or then just do a postgrad, but we always learn. And sometimes we're just learning on our daily lives, right? But we're constantly learning. That's what we're here for. That's what God created us. Simple and ignorant, and here to progress, right? Morally and intellectually. So the learning curve, it's continuous. There's no stopping. And we cannot stop. We're going to learn no matter what, okay? So as a school of souls, because that's what our theme was, right? That's what Spiritist House it is, a school of soul. The Spiritist House has the function to teach us or to help us to understand and clarify the spiritual side of life, why we're here, right? So clarify our minds about the spiritual realities, right? And that's to me one of the major keys that Spirit has brought to us as a knowledge, is the knowledge of reincarnation. Because reincarnation solved so many problems on the Christian teachings when we read the gospel before, that gives so many answers that we didn't have it before. So why my kids born perfect, at least physically, right? Because it's wait for the spirit to come, personality to come out, you're going to see the perfection. But you know, apparently it's perfect physically. And the other one has to be born sometimes with deformities, blind, deaf, syndromes, right? Where is the justice? What kind of a just God is that? Oh, it's just because God wants, but then why me, right? Where's this justice? Like he just randomly pick. It's like, oh, you're gonna have this, you're gonna have that. So where's the justice there, right? If we all created same moment from zero, so where's the justice in there? So to me, one of the main things that this school brought to us and taught us is the reincarnation. So right there gave us already so much information, clarified so much of why the difference, why the physical differences, why even the social difference. What are we here for? I'm here just to have fun and, you know, enjoy life and be happy, or I'm here to help. We're here to help each other, right? Why Jesus enforced so much love one another? Because that's, you know, if you want to progress and in your next life you want to be in a bit better situation, love one another. Let's help each other. But when we didn't have this concept of reincarnation, the concept that I have to repair, because a lot of people see reincarnation as a process of a punishment. Again, karma, right? Karma is like you did something bad, you're going to pay for it. And then Spirit says there's no punishment. There is opportunity of repair, of redoing, right? And I'm pretty sure all of us here, when we make a mistake, would prefer to have an opportunity for repair than being punished, right? Because punishment really doesn't do much, right? So all this knowledge that the Spiritist house to us, all this school, it's very important. So the knowledge that comes from the books that Kardec brought to us, that Chico brought to us, it is the knowledge that's going to help us to do the inner transformation. It's the knowledge that's going to help us to understand how can I find my cure, my own cure, right? Because nobody can cure us, only ourselves. Nobody can do our inner transformation but ourselves. And the Spiritist house will give us that knowledge of what is this inner transformation, how to do this inner transformation. Because if you don't do any of those, if you don't worry about our inner transformation or anything, we're never gonna learn how to use the Spiritist Center as a temple, as a house, as a workplace. Workplace, why am I gonna work? I'm gonna go there, I'm gonna get my pass because that's what I want, it feels great, and I'm out. I don't need to give anything back, right? And as a hospital. But as a hospital where I go there, not for the magic pill, but a hospital that I go there to absorb the tools and the knowledge that I need to go through what I have to do it and to cure myself, right? That's why Jesus is to say every time he cured someone and someone would thank him, he would say, thank you for curing me. And he would say, I didn't cure you. Your faith cured you, right? Because it's us. We are the ones who have to do the work. But today I only understand that because studying for many years, trying, and still so much is still to absorb and understand, right? And how the Spiritist Center works as a school? Through the studies, in group and individual, because we need to do our share as well, right? Beyond what we're learning here is our reading at home, our gospel at home. So there's a lot of individual work that we have to do. But the students as a group. It just says, for example, we have 3 study books now, right? So there's 3 different opportunities to study and be part of the study group during the week. And now we have a weekend, so for the people who cannot do during the week. We do it through the kids evangelization, the youth evangelization, the toddlers. We even start with them very little. So they're toddlers, but they're already absorbing and learning. So that's how it's a school. Through lectures, right? Through workshops that we have. To sometimes when we bring special speakers from Brazil, we had Divaldo, we had Haroldo, we had Andre, and so many people who bring a different knowledge for us and give it. So there's many opportunities of learning at the Spiritist Center. So many opportunities of absorbing the knowledge. Because if you do not absorb the knowledge, we most likely are going to cross the door and forget everything that we heard, because I actually didn't come here to learn. I come here for my past. I came here from my water. I came here because I'm see if maybe and actually we don't have this at TSS, and I'm kind of glad about that. But unfortunately in Brazil, and I don't know if it's unfortunately actually, but it's just a fact, in Brazil there is Spiritist centers where the mediums sometimes is there like doing consultation, and it's not for it. Mediumship is not for it. So the person goes to the Spirit Center just waiting for the magic pill. The medium's gonna look at them and say, you know what, I'm seeing this, you need to do that, you know, the thing that happened, so I want something that gives me a solution. That's what mediumship is for. And but we still a lot of times going to the Spirit Center with that, right? And we forget that actually the best thing that we can take out when we leave here is the knowledge. It's the knowledge that Kardec brought to us. Because those are the knowledge that's going to help us to do the inner transformation and even understand why we need to do that inner transformation. But most of the time, that's not what we do, right? It's bad. So we need to see the Spirit Center school where we can all learn, but we can all teach as well. Because that's what it is. Oh, no, but I don't do lectures. No, but we all can teach each other. We can all teach. With the way that we act inside of here. When we do study groups, for example, we always have someone facilitating the study group, but the person who's there is just facilitating, really. It's not dictating how it's going to be. No, it's literally someone just to, just facilitate so it doesn't become like a mess, someone to organize. But we all learn into each other because we'll read a little bit of the passage from the gospel and we're all going to bring our own ideas. And sometimes you have someone who brings an idea, it's like, oh, I never thought about that. But it is true. It's a different way of interpreting the piece that we just read. So we all learn into each other. So we all here teaching and we all here learning. And that's how it should be, a place where we receive and where we give. Because we all can do it. And we can do that through the school. And if we do that when we're learning here the teachings from Jesus, then it's much easier for us to do it as a spiritual family in a home, as a workplace. Because otherwise, we do have conflicts. We see people who, instead of working together on a Spiritist center, will create conflict. And there's Spiritist centers that will end after years and years of work, that will end because there is a split in the house, because people forget to study, forget why we're here, so they forget the school part, which is the learning. And then they let their own animosities and fights and gossipy and everything break a Spiritist house, and it closes its doors. So the school part is the part that's going to really help us to come here as a family, to create a harmony in this place, to become really this big spiritual family that help each other. And that's exactly what André Luiz talks about to us in the book. It's called Entrevistas, Interviews. There's no translation of the book for English, and that's exactly what he describes. He says, in the Spiritist Center, we'll find the studies and reasoning necessaries for us to live, experience peace, and at the same time experience love for each other, as Jesus has taught us. Love one another as I have loved you. So that's how Emmanuel describes as a place of study, a place where we're going to experience the love for each other, a place that we're going to understand what Jesus told us, love one another. This is the place. But we're not going to do that without studying. We're not going to do this without knowing ourselves, without making that inner transformation. And Chico Xavier brings something very similar to us as well in another book called School of Light, or Educandário de Luz. And it's by different spirits. But he says pretty much the same thing. He says, a Spiritist house is a school where we can learn and teach, plant the good and harvest the graces, improve ourselves and help others to improve in their eternal journey. A place again to learn, to study, so we can help out, so then we can do the other share. We can work to help each other to grow. We can be as a family, and we can use this place as a temple. Unfortunately, the reality these days is this in any Spiritist Center. So this is a little cartoon that a colleague of ours, Andrea Marshall, in Florida Spiritist Center posted. It was in Portuguese. We kind of, and Marcio helped me, we kind of translated to English with the balloons. So the day of the spiritual surges, which you don't do here, but in Brazil a lot of Spiritist Centers will do, we have like about 200 people. The day they have psychographic letters, and you have 1,000 people. The day that you have a lectures or it's book study, you have 30. The saddest part is that when she posted that on, you saw it as well, and she posted that, a lot of us start answering from many Spiritist centers around the world. And unfortunately, everybody said that's the reality in our Spiritist Center. And unfortunately, I had to write the same thing about TSS. Because our study groups here on Wednesdays and Thursdays usually has 2-3 people. In a good day, we have 5 or 6. Right? Good thing is that at least the lectures we have, you know, quite a lot of people in here. But the studies, those group studies that we do, is the one that you're really going to not just have someone who studied and came and brought the knowledge to. Is the one that you're going to have to read. You have to think. You have to have your own thoughts in there. That's why we always have to do our individual part as well. We study as a group, but we have to do our individual part. Our reading at home as well, what kind of books we are reading, right? So this is very sad because we're still using the Spiritist Center everywhere as a platform for magic pills and not a place of learning. And when we do that, we miss the main aspect, the main blast that we can get from a Spiritist house is the knowledge, because that's going to go with us when we go. There was someone who did one of the person who did wrote back, did an interesting analysis why this happened in Spiritist Center. Why so many people just go there to, you know, get my passes, but I really never have time for any of the studies or anything. And he's saying that most of us in this generation, the Spiritist house, still came from a different religion, right? And even though we're Spiritists, even though we know all of this, we still come with bad habits, not only from this incarnation, but if you think that Spiritism started in but Kardec brought the books in 1860s, 50s, 60s, the chance that we are Spiritists on a previous incarnation is very small. Most of us, maybe this is the second reincarnation that we're Spiritist, maybe our first. So imagine that for centuries and millenniums, we're coming from religions that told us, you just need to go, follow rituals, and everything is going to be fine. So we're taught for a long time to look for the magic pill, where I don't need to do anything, right? And actually for centuries, we're not even allowed to read the Bible. It was prohibited, right? So we're not taught to study. We're not taught to learn. We're not taught about inner transformation. I never heard about inner transformation until I started going to the Spiritist Center. So even though we're here for a long time, even though we're here studying, we do bring those habits from before of just going to look to a magic pill. A place where I go, I follow rituals, I follow certain rules, and that's everything's enough for me. Or if I profess certain religion, if I profess a certain religion, that's it, I'm saved. And I don't need to do anything. I don't need to change myself. I don't need to do anything. So I thought this analysis that he did was very interesting. And in some ways, I think it's very true. So it's up to us through the knowledge and through the study and using the Spiritist Center as a school to change those habits inside of us. To come to the Spiritist house looking for all those aspects that a true Spiritist house it is. Because that's what we are. We are home. We are a temple. Here, we're connecting with God here right now. We are a big family. We are workers here, all working to help each other. And we are all here helping each other to heal our pains and sorrows and our difficulties. That's the image that we have to have in our minds when we go to a Spiritist Center, right? Most of all is the school that will help us to grow. So I just want to leave with the last phase. So in the end, that's what it is. It is a sanctuary of mental renewal in the direction of the superior life. because that's what God created us for perfection, and to one day reaching that superior life that is here, waiting for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Teresa. Any questions from anyone? Any questions on the internet, Luciana? No? Any questions over here? No, everyone is probably... Okay, Denise.
Just a comment. Like, when you talk about being a hostel, a school, and everything, I just think like our library is like the pharmacy, right? Like we have the books here, and the study groups are like, I think, next step, because first you need to start reading yourselves. You need to get these books. We have like Kardec, like the basic there, and some people I know that come to the Spirit Center for so many years and they never read because they, oh, it's so boring, it's so hard. But like this is a foundation, and you need to establish this foundation very solid in order to let your commitment grow and start to be able even to talk properly and understand. Because sometimes it's easy to come here and listen people's point of view and be judging, you know. No, yeah, I think this is right. But if you don't read yourself and try to make your critical thinking and like elaborate in order to be able to talk to someone after, because of course you cannot be in your bubble. Like I read, I know what I'm doing, and that's it. Of course you need to share, but just thinking the library is a pharmacy, that we all need to go there sometimes. It's not a magic pill, it's like a lot of things to read, but it's very important. It is one important work inside the Spiritist Center.
I'm very glad you brought that, because if you knew the amount of people who call themselves Spiritists and never read Kardec is huge. And that to me, it makes no sense. It's the same thing you saying you're a doctor, but you never went to medical school. I don't know. Are you a doctor? Are you? So maybe it's time for start to ask questions ourselves. Am I really Spiritist? Because I even read Kardec. So you're saying that you're something that you never even read about. Yeah, I listened to some lectures and everything, but have you read about? Because the moment you didn't read Kardec, minimum, and I'm going to even talk about all five, okay? I'll let you get away with not reading the Genesis. I'll let you get away with not reading the Genesis, because it is a little more complicated, okay? I'll let you get away. But if you didn't read at least the Gospel According to the Spiritism, the Medium's book, and the Spirit's book, then you almost become the person that's going to a church and or any other place, and you just believe because someone told you that's what it is. It is. We have to do our own study. That's what Kardec told us. Even Kardec said, read and question me. Like, don't just think that's the truth because it was me, Kardec, writing down. Question, study. Kardec is calling us to study all the time. So to me, it is scary to see the amount of people who call themselves Spiritists, who go to Spiritist house and never read Kardec. So, great. So it means I can come here and say whatever I want, because you're going to take us at face value and not even know if I'm making mistakes. And maybe I made a few mistakes while I'm doing this lecture here today. That if you didn't read, if you don't have a good base, you're going to say, oh yeah, then take notes, because I'm going to follow this through the teeth. And I'm pretty sure that if I listen to every single of my lectures, which I don't because I don't have the courage, I'll probably find mistakes like, why did I say that? But how are you going to know? How are you going to know? You never read. You don't study. So please, if there's anybody here, don't need to raise your hand, but if there's anybody here who didn't read the Kardec yet, let's start it. And come to read it with us during our study books, because that's an easy...
Right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people say, oh, you read so much, and he told, you know what I do? I read my commitment is read 1 page per day. 1 page.
Yes.
It's something doable. They're talking there like 10 minutes of your day to read 1 page. And then digest that during the day. You start with 1 page, and like after 30 years.
Yeah, how many books you read?
So it's
exactly.
some people say,
yeah.
they study so much, but Just like
Yeah.
it's one page per day.
And if you
That's
and if you think it's hard to study, to read, because you maybe the knowledge or the language is hard, that's why we have the study books here.
Yeah.
And you don't even need to be here. You can watch from home. It's on the website. So we all can find some time to be part of the study books. It's either coming here or being on the website with us, right?
Yeah.
But it's not what's happening. Most of us are neglecting that amazing opportunity that's here open to us, right? But I'm glad you brought this about the books. Yeah.
So for those on the internet who didn't hear, Denise compared our books here. If the Spiritist Center is a hospital, our books would be the medicine, right?
Yeah.
And can I go back 1 second here?
Yeah.
I know we have the lunch coming up very briefly. The reality is every single one of us come to Spiritism for different reasons. Some come looking for a temple, looking for a connection for God. Others come because we are not well. We want that pill to resolve our problems. Well, because the root is in us. The illnesses that we see externally in our bodies come from our spirit, as Teresa said, from ourselves. And Dr. Bezerra complements, and the only medicine is the gospel of Jesus in our hearts, put in practice in our hearts, right? So there's no Spiritism without Jesus. And the gospel of Jesus, and the definition from the manual, the Spiritist Center, Teresa put there, the school of souls teaching us to live. So the gospel of Jesus is that moral code that is valid across the universe. If you talk about colonizing Mars, if we live on Mars, if we know and practice the gospel of Jesus, we are ready for it. It's valid anywhere. So let's learn here first, right? And then we think about Mars.
Yeah.
But just to complement, and the final thing is, if we come to a Spiritist Center, if all of us come, let's not expect angelitude from each other. We are here on the front facilitating the meeting and giving the lecture or preparing the food or giving the passes shortly, but none of us are perfect. We all have our good days, our bad days. We have our personal life's problems, our job's problems, our same struggles. That's why Teresa said, there is no teacher. Jesus said, call no one teacher but me. He is the only one that can be called a teacher. There's no teacher here. There's no priest. There's no one in a higher level of moral superiority in the Spiritist Center. We are all on the same boat learning together. And when we come to a place expecting perfection, we are set to be disappointed.
Yeah.
Right? So we are on this together. Let's keep this in mind. But the most important thing is show up.
Yeah.
Because by the moment we are part of the family, we have a whole spiritual network behind us. We are no longer alone, whatever is our problems. That's the key thing to remember, right?
And I want to invite all of you, if you could be here next Sunday, because Thiago's going to do a very important lecture. So today about what are the functions of the Spiritist house, what's the characteristics of Spiritist house. But Thiago's going to be actually talking about what's our relationship with the Spiritist house. How should we behave? How should be that connection between us? I kind of spoke a little bit about today, but that's what's going to be.
Lovely.
So I think it's something very important for us to to watch, if not here, through the internet, because it's going to be a very important lecture next Sunday.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you very much. So now we are on the final part of our meeting, which is the passes. So Teresa spoke about this. I want to say thank you to everyone who participated in the meeting over through the internet. We look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you so much. Have a great week. For those who are here and are new to Spiritism, don't know what passes is, it's an energy